Hi, welcome to Software Testing Online Training from techtrainersonline.com. In today's session, we will talk about levels of testing like unit testing, integration testing, system testing, user acceptance testing, and we'll also try to understand there are different types of two types of testing what we're getting in user acceptance testing. One is called alpha testing, and another one is beta testing. So we'll try to understand this, and also we will try to understand integration approaches. Whenever you try to do integration testing, there are different approaches we have, but mostly use the top down and bottom up approach, which we are going to discuss about it. Now let's try to understand levels of testing. So when we talk about the testing, so when we basically talk about the testing, we uh, understood that the system testing or whatever the testing we do is basically done by the testing team. It's not only by the testing team. In fact, before it is coming to the testing team, there is a concept called unit testing. So who develops the code? Developer. So whenever the developer writes the code for implementing specific user stories or requirements, they are expected to do the unit testing. So what do you mean by unit testing? So unit testing is unit of the code that is written by the developer is expected to be tested by own developer, whoever is written the code, to make sure that whatever the code is written by him or her is working as expected, is called as unit testing. Any questions on unit testing?
Can you repeat again?
Okay, why developer required to do the unit testing, as we discussed about the verification, right? So we need to
Yeah.
make sure, we need to find the defects as many as possible at the early stage. So why do we need to find the defect at early stage? Because to prevent the cost of defect repair. When I say defect repair, fixing of the defect.
Yeah.
So, as discussed in the previous session, where if you find the defects at the early stage, cost of defect would fixing is very less. If you go on, getting the defects in coming stages, you basically have a lot of cost impacts on the defect fixes, because everyone
Yeah.
has to rework on tester to write the update the test cases, developer has to update the code, and then it just goes on, right? So that is the
Yeah.
reason we expect every developer to go ahead and do the unit testing. So when we talk about unit testing, as said, it is purely developer who has to do the unit testing. So why do we
Yeah.
need to do this unit testing? To find the defects at R, to make sure whatever the code that is written by the developer does not have any defects. If has any defects, find it, fix it, retest it again, so that you can prevent the defects in the testing phase, which is nothing but in your next phase. Any questions so far on this unit testing?
No.
Okay. Now you have another kind of testing which is called integration testing. So integration testing is like, I said, unit testing is responsibility of individual developer, okay, who is expected to do the testing. But when it comes to the integration testing, which is which is nothing but you need to integrate every developer's code and make it as one build and deploy it and test it to make sure everyone's code is working fine, right?
Yeah.
So it means every individual developer's code is going to be taken. We combine of everyone's code together and we deploy it. We call it as an integration testing, in which
Okay.
every developer's code will be there. Like say I have 6 developers in my uh, project, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every individual developer will be assigned individual user stories. are requirements. Let's say each developer is being assigned 2 user stories, right? So total 12 user stories for 6 members. So when I say unit testing, if I say you are the developer and you write the code for your own 2 user stories. Similarly, remaining developers also going to write the same thing for their own user stories, for each two user stories, whichever is being assigned to them. Now, what I wanted to do, I want to combine everything of 12 user stories code, which are written by 6 developers, and then make sure each one is interacting with another one. And there are no issues while interacting with one component to another component. As discussed in the one of the example where we have, like say I'm developing application to add the beneficiary, and you have another developer who is writing the code for transfer funds. So one is having dependent on another one, right? So you cannot transfer the funds without getting the beneficiary details, right? So whatever the code I have written here as a developer for adding the beneficiary user story, I need to pass that information to you, whoever is writing the whoever is writing the transfer funds code. Then whenever I click on transfer funds, it should get all the beneficiary information from the code that I have written. That's an integration, like interaction with one component to another component. I would say when adding beneficiary is one component, transfer funds is another component. So why do they need to interact? In order to allow user to follow continuation of the flow, right? So you need to make sure you transfer the data. These kind of things we try to find out in integration testing to make sure there are no defects in it and each component is interacting correct or not. Okay.
Okay.
So we also have something called entry criteria and exit criteria. So when I say integration testing entry criteria, so which means that when can I start my integration testing? So whenever you talk about entry criteria, you always remember when I can start. When I am done with all developers unit testing thoroughly tested, and whatever defects find in unit testing to be fixed, and then retest of the code. Once every developer does this, like fixing the defects and retesting it, once everyone confirms their unit code is working, then we try to take their code into the integration testing. That would be my entry criteria. If there are any defects that are still open under unit testing, which are found by the developer, cannot be considered for integration testing, because we don't want, whenever we do in integration testing, it is difficult to understand this defect is happening because of the integration issue, or it is happening because of the individual developer code is having the defect. So we don't want that confusion to happen when you do the integration testing. We want to make sure that you do thorough unit testing. If you see any defect, fix it and then retest it. After that only you give me for
Integration testing.
Otherwise we don't take it. That's what we consider it as an entry criteria. So what do you mean by exit criteria? Exit criteria means when can I stop my integration testing and when can I give it to the system testing? That is called as exit criteria for integration testing. So obviously, exit criteria of integration testing would be entry criteria for system testing.
Okay.
So when you take the entry criteria for integration testing, so what would be the integration testing entry criteria?
Unit testing should be done thoroughly.
Exactly. So that would be the exit criteria of unit testing. Exit criteria of unit testing is entry criteria for integration testing. So exit criteria for integration testing would be entry criteria for system testing.
Okay.
Okay, so what is exit criteria for integration testing? Exit criteria always remains the same most of the time. So
Okay.
what would be the exit criteria for integration testing? Do integration testing. If you find
Yeah.
if you find any defects, fix it, retest it, and again do thorough retesting after defect fixes, and then go for
System.
system testing. So until unless you're not doing thorough integration testing, until unless you are not doing defect fixes that are found in integration testing, I will not give system for system testing. So
Okay.
when it comes to integration testing, who is responsible to do this testing?
Testers.
So basically, developer should do. There is no thumb rule. It should developer or it should be a tester. Generally, it may happen with the coordination between development team and the testing team, because
Okay.
the developer may not know everything. The developer understands whatever the requirements that are being assigned to that particular developer, and they would be testing of only that part. Okay, so
Okay.
when it comes to system testing, so in integration testing, you're not testing everything as a whole system. You're trying to make sure that component interaction is happening very well, and each component is passing through the data, whatever is needed, and then moving it further. So you'll be not testing everything under integration testing. So when it comes
Okay.
to the system testing, you have to test everything here.
Okay.
So you do thorough, complete system testing under system testing. So system testing is the responsibility of the testing team only. No developer would be
Okay.
involved.
Yeah.
System testing to be done by complete tester.
Testers.
Yeah, testing team. So what is exit criteria for system testing? So after system testing, we give it to the client for doing the testing. You see, there are 4 levels of testings are happening here. One is unit testing by individual developer. Second is integration testing by both the teams. Third is system testing by the testing team. Fourth one is user acceptance
User
testing,
acceptance. Yeah.
which is done by the client itself.
Yeah.
In general, it is done by the client when it comes to user acceptance testing. We call it as UAT.
Mhm.
In case client may also request you to help in case if they have very less resources, and if they wanted, you can go ahead and help them in doing the user acceptance testing. Okay.
Okay.
So user acceptance testing again has 2 types of testing. One is alpha testing and another one is the beta testing. Okay, I think I have a notes already here. Let's see. So unit testing, I'll send you this document after the training. Okay. So unit testing
Okay.
is unit of code, which is this we already discussed. And who is responsible? I clearly mentioned the developer. And then for
Mhm.
integration testing, who is developer? Developer, but they reach to testing team for help. Okay. So user acceptance testing generally performed by client. So we may do it, we may not do it. That's a user acceptance testing. Okay. After
Okay.
this user acceptance testing, I'm mentioning there are 2 types of testing again. One is alpha testing, another one is beta testing.
Beta.
So now let me give an example. Like say that you are working for one of the banking company, and they wanted to design online banking as a software product.
Mhm.
And once they develop it, they wanted to announce it in the media that our banking online system is available. Or maybe media, they wanted to announce it to their own customers to go ahead and use the online banking. Right?
Okay.
So it has huge features, right? So like register of account, log in with valid user ID and password, then reset the PIN, enter the wrong PIN more than 3 times, then account should be locked for 24 hours. And customer should be able to pay the credit card bills or whatever the bills he wanted to pay. So like there are so many features that are available in that particular project.
Yeah.
So if we release that directly to the market, first what we do unit testing, then we do integration testing, system testing, then user acceptance testing, alpha testing, what we are talking about now in this example. So this, whatever we give it to the client, whatever client is going to do as part of testing is called as alpha testing. Okay. So when it comes to beta testing, now, as I was mentioning, it has so many features and you wanted to release it to the end users. Now let's assume you are one of that customer exists for that particular bank. Now, when you are transferring the funds, it is adding additional 0 in the last. Like say you want to transfer 2000, you are adding 10 additionally by the system. It's a defect. So it is deducting $20,000 instead of $2,000.
2000. Yeah.
So do you think you will be happy every time if it is doing? It's
No.
not only with you, because it's a system defect. Every customer will be facing the same problem.
Yes.
Do you think that customer will be happy with the product that is delivered in the market?
No.
The same thing is happening when you pay the credit card bills additional. Wherever you do credit card bills payment or your electricity bill payments or whatever payments, online transfers, whatever you do, it is keep on adding 10 at the last. It's a defect that is missed out in alpha testing and system testing also, right? Then there would be a lot of escalations and client customers will not be happy, and they say that we don't want to use your online banking and we wanted to close account and move on to other bank. So we don't want that to happen. So what we need to do, before making it available to the end users, we need to do the beta testing. So beta testing means, first, I will not release it to entire world, to entire customers. I have some concept called friends and family. Okay. So what I would do, I will release this particular, I will not announce to any customer. Customers will not even aware there is a system exists at this moment, but system is already ready. And then I will give it to only my friends and family, which would not take much numbers. It would be 5 members or 8 members or 9 members, whatever it is, differ to project to project. Some people give it to 5, some people give it to 10. It differs to project to project. So I will give it only few limited resources of friends and family. And then I ask them to do the testing. More or less to say it's not a testing, try to use it, this system as an end user for you. Right? So they start using it. They start using it, and whatever the issues they are finding, we have to fix them immediately. So what you are trying to do, you are trying to prevent the defects which may impact on the reputation of the company. If the defect is like this, whatever I explained, then it may impact your reputation of the bank. So we don't want that to happen. To be safer side, we do this testing. Okay. That is called as beta testing.
Yeah.
Any questions so far?
No.
Okay. So when it comes to alpha testing and beta testing is happening, most of the time, like say my client is in UK, okay, UK bank. So developers will travel to UK, and as well as a few testers also will travel to UK location. It's not mandatory. In general process, I'm trying to explain it. So why we need to travel, why developer and tester has to travel? Because of this time zone gap, right? Let's take US bank, whatever, some bank in US. So when we go to close the day, you guys are going to start the day, right?
Yes.
So entire day will be wasted. You found very critical defects, and you have to wait for the next day for developer to fix it, right? We don't want that to happen. So whenever this user acceptance testing is happening, we make sure that the developer and tester will travel to US, and then they will have what you call fix the defects then and there whenever they are raising the defects in alpha testing or in beta testing. Once successfully moved to production and end users started using it, not having any much issues, then come back to your own location wherever you traveled from. That's what we generally do when it comes to user acceptance testing. You might be seeing people are traveling to onshore, right? For on visas, H1B or whatever, L1. So these are the situations where the testers and developer would be traveling. This would be one of the situations, but there are other situations also why people would be traveling. Okay, these are the levels of testing. Any questions?
No.
Okay. So where are we going to test the system testing, alpha testing, and beta testing? I said user acceptance testing is completely done by client. So we don't do that. Until unless the specific request comes from the client requesting that you have to do it, then we will support and we'll help in doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have something concept called environments.
Okay.
Let me make a note. Here somewhere. Okay. So let's talk about test environments. So we have different environments for doing the testing for individual team members. So when I say I do system testing, who is responsible for doing the system testing?
Testers.
Tester. So tester is going to do, we have 3 different environments, okay? We have something called test environment, and you have UAT. We call environment itself as a UAT, and then pre-prod, we call it as pre-production. Some people call it as a pre-prod and some people call it as a pre-production. And production environment. So these are the different environments what we have. Okay. So when I say system testing, I'd be doing it in the test environment. Every environment will have separate servers and every environment will have separate URLs. Okay. So if my application is for whatever Citibank, right? So let's say that I'm working for Citibank project and I have to do the testing of that particular application. So you will have separate environment created. So you should have separate environment should be created. One for testers, which is known as test environment. One for UAT, which is to be dedicatedly available for the client. And pre-production, we will discuss about it. Production is, you know it, right? So production is real-time environment, which are used by end users, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm working for a project called test environment, if I have to test it, citibanktest.com will be my URL. If I'm working for Citibank and I have to test this test environment. So which would be like citibank.com. Okay. So I will have access to the citibank.com and I can play around doing the testing in this test environment from the Citibank application. Now, if client has to do same thing, will be changed to citibank.com. It may be differed, more or less it looks like that. Most of the applications will have indicating the test environment. Some people say citibankqa.com, some people create it as citibanktest.com, and some people create citibankuat.com. Most of the time UAT will be there, so that you can identify by looking at the URL.
Okay.
So you need to look at the environment. By looking at the URL, you can easily understand where you are doing the testing.
Okay.
So you are doing the testing in which environment, you can identify it by looking at this URLs.
URL. Yeah.
Now this would be Citibank, pre-prod.
Okay.
So now you can easily say that this is the URL and this is the environment. By you can easily identify which environment you are in. So most of the time people would be using these environments. Okay. So when I talk about types of levels of testing, system testing is purely performed in test environment. User acceptance testing is performed in
UAT.
Under user acceptance testing, alpha testing is performed in UAT environment.
UAT. Okay.
And then you have beta testing. Beta testing is performed in where? In production.
Okay.
As said, friends and family, whatever testing we do, we will be doing it under production. When I say only few members will come and do the testing in production, that would confirm one more level of real-time testing from like an end users with the limited number of users before releasing it to the end users. Okay. So these are about the test environment.
Okay.
How about pre-production? Why do we use pre-production? And before going there, these are the standard environments every project will have. Okay. And it can also have more than these environments. Like say I have a product which are used across the globe. Okay. So when I say across the globe, I will have product owners from different regions. Like one is APAC, Asia Pacific, and one is EMEA, which is nothing but Europe region, and you have something called APAC, EMEA, AMER. AMER is nothing but for America region. So what I would do, if my client requests, I will create additional 3 environments. Additional 3 environments, one for APAC, one for EMEA, one for AMER, along with my UAT environment. Now for APAC, it should have certain features. For EMEA, it should have certain features. For AMER, it should have another features, right? So for APAC, let's say you are working some terms and conditions and legals, everything will change based on the region, right? So only those rules, terms and conditions should be applicable for that particular APAC region. So you need to test all those things under APAC, so which is separated. And the second one and third one, same thing is applicable. Like you go for EMEA and AMER, it will have separate, like this would, again, your URL will change. Citibank.apac.com, Citibank EMEA.com, like that.
Okay.
Citibank AMER.com. It just goes on changes based on whatever the region you are using in. I'm just giving these are the standard environments which are applicable for almost all the projects. And when it comes to pre-production, what is this pre-production environment is used? Pre-production mimics like a production. Now, When it goes to the production, one end user finds a defect, and that user is specifying about when I hit login after entering the user ID and password, system hangs there, right?
Okay.
So that guy calls to the customer care of that particular bank, and he says, I'm not able to log in, the system is hanging in. So what this call center guy will do, we discuss that process, right? On the day one session. Level 1, level 2, level 3, supporting team.
Yeah.
So when the defect comes from the production, from the end user, it comes to the call center executive, and that guy is going to raise a ticket for that. We will not directly call that as a defect. We call it as an incident. Okay, ticket or incident.
Okay.
Okay, we have something called incident management. That's altogether different process that are for the resources who wanted to start career in the support side. So you call to the customer care, and customer care executive makes a note of what the issue is, and then he gives that information to investigate for another team called L2 team. And L2 team could not able to replicate that issue, so they give it to testing team to test it. So what testing team would be doing? They try to enter user ID and password in test environment. You need to remember that, okay? In test environment, you are trying to replicate the issue what end user is facing, but you are not able to replicate it. You are able to log in successfully. Okay. Now,
okay.
Then again, you go and try to test it in UAT, or you can ask the client to test it in UAT whether you are able to log in or not. Client also says that I'm able to log in, right?
Okay.
In that case, how to fix the issue? See, in order to fix the issue by the development team, first they have to replicate it and debug it and find the root cause. But we are not able to reproduce it in test environment or even in the UAT. So why we are not able to reproduce is the question. And how can we fix if we are not able to reproduce it? That's another question. So here, when you say end user is facing, in which environment? Production environment. In which environment we tested? Test and UAT. We are not able to reproduce. Why it is not able to reproduce? Because test environment and UAT environment capacity would be 15 to 20 members users. It depends on how many testers are working on. Okay. At max, you will not reach more than the size that is being given. Now I know how much testing team would be. If I say 50 members are using my project, I mean test 50 testers are doing the testing, I'll configure my server and everything to support up to 50 users. But when it goes to the production environment, expected users to use is 100K users, 1 lakh users. So that configuration and everything is configured to support 100K or 1 lakh users in the production environment. Maybe the customer, whoever is raised a complaint, he would be a 100K plus one customer where system is not able to support because load is heavy high.
Okay.
Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when we try to reproduce in test and UAT, it is not reproducible. So what we need to understand is, okay, just get the logs from the production server and see where this defect is triggering and get what are the number of users using at the system. Maybe at the peak, the particular end user is trying to log in. That's where the problem is. So we need to replicate that. So as said, pre-production is like production. Same configuration, everything would be same. Only URL and servers would be different. So we use this pre-production environment for replicating the defects, like as example, what I have given. If you are not able to reproduce it in test and in UAT environment. And pre-production environment also used for what you call performance testing. So performance testing we will discuss in coming sessions. So performance testing is nothing but you will have load testing, stress testing, and the volume testing. So that we will discuss all together in the coming sessions. So in order to do the performance testing, we need to have pre-production also, because I cannot test 100K users, 1 lakh users in test environment, which is limited of 50 users, right? It cannot be like that.
Yeah.
You cannot test it. So that is the, and
Yeah.
also I cannot do performance testing in the production environment. I don't want touch any production environment. Then where should I do to compare with all these things? You go for using the pre-production environment.
Okay.
So that's about levels of testing and different test environments what we have. Any questions so far?
No.
So as a tester, when you want to start your career, you need to understand this is for sure. So you need to know the environments and you need to know who is responsible for doing what type of testing, what level of testing. Okay. So we talked about
Okay.
integration testing here, right? So when we talk about integration testing, I said we have two different approaches in integration testing, top-down approach and bottom-up
Bottom.
approach. So
Mhm.
top-down approach. Now, as said, we have different components, right? We have different components. We have, we can even call it as different modules. In order to do the integration testing, what we said integration means integrate every developer's code.
Yeah.
And what if some developer's code is not yet ready? What should I do? Do I really need to wait until the developer completes that component? Answer is no. So for that, they have some approach called top-down and bottom-up approach. Okay.
Okay.
Top-down approach means whichever topmost priority modules you have, okay, whichever topmost modules you have, first you need to prepare them. Okay.
Okay.
And then bottom-up modules, you can prepare it later. That's what it means to say top-down approach. Now let's say that I have I have two components. Okay, let's say my application is about getting the student details. Okay, and calculating the student details. Okay, and then once you calculate the student details, send it to another component where I take all the sum of the student details which are written by other component, and then I do division and I calculate percentage, what is the percentage and in which grade the student is passed, score of the student grade, and I have to specify it. So these are the two component. Component A is in getting the data from component B. What is component A? Displaying the grade of the student along with the percentage, which grade, right? In bottom-up approach, sorry, in component B, what component B has to do? Component B has to get the student subject-wise marks, right? And take the sum of it and then give that information to component A. Are you clear?
Yeah.
Now, component A has dependence on the component B. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So now in top-down approach, let's say component A is the top priority for me. So I would go ahead and develop that component A. And component B is not yet ready. Right? When component B is not yet ready, what should I do? So I would replace component B with the stub. We have concept called stubs and drivers. So what do you mean by top-down approach? Topmost modules are prepared first, where other modules are not yet ready. So whatever the modules not yet ready in this example, component A is prepared.
Hello.
Sorry. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You have a small disturbance in your voice.
Okay, is it clear now?
Yeah.
Okay. Now component A is ready here and component B is not yet ready. So what I am going to do, I am going to, anyhow component A is already developed and component B to be developed. In that case, I will replace component B with the stubs.
Okay.
So now what component B is doing, it is just giving a subject wise marks of student and then taking the sum of each student mark and giving that information to component A. So instead of, since the component B is not developed, I'll place that as a stub, right? Stub is nothing but a file. Okay, it can be a
Okay.
notepad or it can be any file. So it's a just file where I give student information. So now component A, instead of interacting with component B, it would be interacting with stub. Are you getting? Component A should
Okay.
interact with the component B. Since component B is not yet ready, okay, I'm interacting it with the
Mm-hmm.
stub. So what
Stop.
component B is
Yeah.
doing? Just giving the student details, subject wise. So I'll put English, these
Yeah.
marks, Telugu or English, science, maths. I put individual marks and I'll put it in a file. I call that file as a stub here. That's it. Now
Okay.
I'll mark component A to interact with the stub rather than the component B, so that you are thoroughly testing of component A without waiting for the component B to save the time.
Yeah.
That is called top-down approach. So
Okay.
whenever you have topmost modules are ready, and whatever the
Mm-hmm.
topmost module are prepared and which module it is interacting, if that module is not yet ready, we will replace that module with the stubs. That's a top-down approach. When it comes to
Okay.
bottom-up approach, bottom, it's a reverse. So first you prepare bottom-up approach. You take the same example. Now component B is ready, but component A is not yet ready. Okay. Now
Okay.
what you would do, you would prepare a driver in place of component A.
Okay.
Okay. In top-down, you will use the steps. In bottom,
Stops.
you will
Yeah.
use the drivers.
Drivers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So preparing the stuff and all easy, but preparing driver is not that easy, right? So you should be very careful when you are preparing the drivers in bottom up approach. Okay.
Okay.
So that's about the integration approach where we talk about what are the different types of approaches we have and what is exactly top down and what is exactly bottom up approach. Any questions on these two?
Uh, no, but uh, you said like stubs, right? So stub is nothing but file.
Right.
Yeah. So what will be there in that file?
No, it would be your student marks.
Okay.
Now let me give one more example. Component A is transferring the funds.
Okay.
Component B is giving the beneficiary details to the component A. Okay. Now
Okay.
transferring the funds is allowable for you. Component A is developed. Component B, you do not have code ready for adding the beneficiary, right?
Yeah.
When you do not have that beneficiary, can you transfer the funds?
No.
But I wanted to do the integration testing of component A and component B, how they are interacting. So now you do
Okay.
not have component B of adding the beneficiary. What I would do, I would give that account details in a text file, in a file. Okay, I would say account number,
Okay.
I would say IFSC code, I would say bank, which bank, and I would say, city, which city this account belongs to, and account holder name. Component A need only these informations, right?
Yeah.
So I am putting those all information in a stub. So it will take up and do the transfers, whatever it wanted to do.
Okay.
Okay, it's as simple as if the lower component is not available, you replace with the stub. So what you replace, whatever information is needed.
Okay.
What exactly? Called as top-down approach.
Okay. Yeah.
And in bottom-up approach, you have driver instead of stub. You replace topmost module with the driver.
Okay.
Okay. And I think you should get a question. That question is already written here. Who is responsible for creating stubs and drivers?
Yeah.
Who is responsible? And who is responsible to decide which approach I have to follow?
Mm.
And
As you said, integration testing will be done both the teams. Maybe I think it should be also done by both the teams.
basically, if you look at this integration testing, we said primarily developers are the responsible. So
Okay.
deciding which approach and deciding creation of stubs and drivers are to be maintained and responsibility of the development team, not the testing team. So once they
Okay.
say that we wanted to do the integration testing between component A and component B, they can ask us, say that you forget about component B is ready for you. I inputted this data in stub instead of B. So test it, it should work it. That's all. We generally do not create stub and not generally, we do not create stub and drivers by the testing team. No. So
Okay.
we can play around with the stubs. Like say you want to calculate the percentage and the grade of the student, right? That's what you have to test it. Now I will give all negative marks in the stub for every subject and then see how component A is working. I mean, you keep changing the data in the stub, I mean to say. Right?
Okay.
First you all
Yeah.
give 0 and then see how it is behaving. Then give something negative and see how it is doing. Then give complete every subject mark as 100 and see how it is doing. Give one subject marks as a negative and see how it is doing. So you need to play around with the test data that is there in your stub file. But initially developer will create and give that stub to you. When I said to you,
Okay.
testing team, you go to that file and keep modify the data and test it. In case if they are asking us to do this integration testing.
Okay.
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 Any questions?
No.
I think you can go through the blog. I said all this, the data, whatever we are discussing now is already there in the blog. The URL is already listed here, techtrainers.online.com/blog. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's stop it here for today, and then we'll resume it again tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.